they only gave the dog 6 months to live.
Why?
She was born with subaortic stenosis,
What
which
does
is
that mean?
like one valve is like basically completely closed, leaving her heart. So for her to push air through her heart, she has to work like thousands of beats per minute to push it
was
through.
a heart
It was a pinhole.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm not ready for it. Like if we lose this dog, I'm gonna lose my sobriety. And she's like, okay. Then when I met her, it was completely different. I had gone in the back to use the bathroom, and I remember on the right-hand side, I just seen all these little German Shepherd puppies trying to jump over the cage, and here came this little waddling one, and she was like shaking, and I was like, is that the little one? And they were like, yeah. I was like, I'll give her the best 4 months possible. She was 2 months old.
So you knew that to take her meant you were just taking her until she died?
Correct.
Okay.
And I remember, man, it
Did you name her, or she hadn't?
My ex named her, Honey.
Okay.
That dog completely changed my life.
Why?
I used to live for drinking and drugging, and I felt okay. Even though I hated the man I was, I still felt okay. But when I took all of that out of my life, I felt lost, but I was searching. Right? So when I brought that dog home, now I had a new reason to come home, a newfound love. That dog accepted me for who I am. That dog was super happy. Dog gave me a purpose, and that's exactly what I needed. She kept me filled with joy and love, and just being accepted and not judged by an animal, because they're never gonna judge you for who you are. I felt like life was possible for me, and I felt at home. And all I wanted to do was go to work and come home. So then I realized, like, working at the sanctuary, that this may be a life for me. I really felt at home. I remember looking in like a horse's eyes, and like I just seen myself in just through his eyes, and I was like, this is where I need to be. So I got a little more involved with the rescue. I started to do my independent rescues with no name, and just rescuing dogs and trying to help.
What was the mission there? To take the animals off the street, find them some safety, and then get them adopted? At this place you're talking about?
Goats of Anarchy?
Yeah.
Goats of Anarchy, she mainly rescues special need goats. So like we built, and again, I'm a creative builder.
What is special needs goats?
Like sometimes they're born with deformities and they need prosthetic legs or wheelchairs or, it's really touching to see, I tried to go vegan for that reason, because animals do mean so much to me. I mean, I tried. It's just, I can't do it. It depleted my whole body. It's just not for me. But just to see like a farm animal, they're all beings. Like, they all have a heart and a soul.
Yeah.
And to see the special need ones really start to be loved and cared for really made me feel like accepted, like as if I was a goat, I would want to live here.
Right.
Like this is, they're running around with wheelchairs and prosthetic legs, and the operation was beautiful. The people around it was beautiful. She likes mainly special need goats, but she has done like huge rescues with like some sanctuaries that don't take care of their animals, whether it's dogs, cats, horses, llamas. She's expanded to everything now.
Wow. Where is that based?
It's in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. So she has some land, I take
Yeah,
it.
she got some land. But I built some creative stuff for her.
Okay.
So when I first built her first one, I remember building an octogoat, I called it, where it was a trampoline, because goats like to bounce on trampolines. But I built like a stadium around it so that the goats could sit up on like bleachers and watch the goats in the ring. And then it was crazy. But that's where I felt at home.
Right.
Like I was still battling
doing something
myself.
nice for
I was
these
still
animals.
my pain was crazy, mentally, physically, orally. Like now I'm sober, like I'm not resorting to drugs anymore. The pain's getting worse, the embarrassment is getting worse. And when I would show up there, it was nothing but love.
Yeah.
They didn't judge me. I told her what I was battling with when I first got up there, and she said, well, if there's one place that you need to be is right here.
Right.
She's like, I will never make you feel uncomfortable. And to this day, she's like a big sister of mine.
So you have an amazing platform on Instagram called Pitbulls and Addicts.
Yes.
Explain how that got started.
So, I told my father I was going to go from a zero to a hero, day one of sobriety, and I was searching for a purpose. I found the purpose through a rescue dog. I rescued a couple of like independent little rescues. Like, you know, one time I walked into a backyard breeder. It was completely disgusting. It was full of trash. The dogs were coming out of everywhere, and I wound up taking all of the dogs from him, right? All the puppies. And that day...
He didn't mind?
He had no choice.
Okay.
I was taking them.
Yeah.
Right?
You're a big dude. You could be scary, I'm sure.
Listen, I'm a good guy. But if I have to, you know, I was there for those dogs.
Yeah.
After seeing the conditions, I wasn't talking about it. I took those dogs right from him, and then I brought them back to my job site. I put them in the bathroom, and by the end of the day, I had homed all of the puppies.
Aww.
And it really made me feel like a better man, you know? So I went home and I told my ex, let's start a rescue. Like,
what
we're working with, she's like, let's go. She, you know, she was all about it. So my first rescue was No More Pain Rescue. My ex still has it, but we started to rescue, you know, enforce the base and trying to home dogs and just trying to do our part. We rescued, I rescued a dog named Aria. She's the one who started Freedom Home, Pitbulls and Addicts. Okay. What happened was a real estate agent called me up and said, hey, there's a pit bull locked in an attic on a house that we're going to be selling. If the dog is not removed today, she's going to go to the ACC. I said, you know, how big is she? He's like, no, she's tiny. She's skinny. And I was like, all right, I'll come.
And it was an owner that had just left it there? Or what?
Yeah, so supposedly the guy that was in the house was renting the house. He had done something to the child, and he was locked up. When he was locked up, the mother just took the child and left. Like that, the lights were on. There was food on the stove. When I went in there, it was like literally took her child and walked out and never came back.
Right.
So when I pulled up there, we had no experience rescuing. I thought I was going to get a little pit bull.
And did you know, by the way, how long the dog had been left alone?
No, I had no information.
Okay.
So I just, at that time, I'm like, yeah, I could go get this dog. It's not a big deal. We had a foster set up to take the dog. We just have to take the dog from the Bronx to upstate. When I pulled up to the house, first of all, I thought it was a setup. They gave me the wrong address, and then because it was road and avenue or road and street, I forget what it was, but I went to the wrong address. It was a strip club on a dark block, and I'm like, here we go. We're gonna get stuck up or something. So I called the guy. I was like, where are you? He's like, I'm here waiting for you. So I was like, I'm on 138th Road. He's like, no, it's 138th Street. I said, okay. So I went there. When I got there, the upstairs was empty, but downstairs was a very dark party and very colorful.
Okay.
So it was the red color. So a white guy showing up, with a little white girl. I showed my ex how to open up a knife, and she had a baseball bat in her hand. Okay, so she's standing outside of my truck. She's holding a baseball bat and a knife. And I knock on the door, and they thought that I was the police.
Oh, wow.
So right away, everybody's like, yelling and screaming. And I was like, I'm here for the dog. And then one of the guys was like, what? And I was like, there's a dog here. He's like, that's upstairs. Go upstairs. So it was like a metal staircase to get all the way upstairs. I was like, listen, I'm not going up there alone. Come with me. I'll get the dog, but I'm not kicking that door in. Somebody has to do it for me. So they wound up, understanding that I'm really there for the dog, that I wasn't playing games with them. And they were like, we'll get the door open for you. So they walked me upstairs. They kicked the door, and the dog's not there. The dog's up in the attic. Oh. And I could hear her up in the attic, and all I hear is like nails walking and, some barking. And he's like, good luck. So I open up the attic door, and she comes running down, and she's like standing me off. And she's like skin and bones, and she's defeated. And she's about a year old. It took me 45 minutes to get her into her slip lead.
How long do you think she had been up there by herself?
Probably about a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No food and water.
No food or water, but she wasn't taken care of. The guy who did have her previously was a piece of shit. She may have been, being trained into fighting or, just abused. Like, he was abusing his child, so he probably was abusing the dog.
Yeah.
But she was standoffish, and I was like, listen, it's just me and you, So after a little bit of time, and again, nowadays is different.
Did you have treats with you?
I had some treats, and but she didn't want anything. She just stood me up.
Yeah.
But nowadays is I have way more experience. The approach would be way differently, and I would be out of the house real quick.
Right.
45 minutes later, I wound up taking her out of the house, put her into the car. We went and we got some McDonald's. We given her chicken nuggets. And as right before we get onto the turnpike to go take her to the foster, she starts to growl and show signs that she's very uncomfortable. So the woman who was originally going to foster her was 90 pounds. She had, I wasn't going to put this woman in harm's way. So I just said, I'm going to take her home. I took her home, but I had other dogs of my own, so I wasn't going to put them at risk. So I put her in my garage. So my community didn't allow Pitbulls at the time. So my daytime became her nighttime, and my nighttime was her daytime. So everything was reversed. So I used to leave my house with her like 11 o'clock at night, get her into the park. But she was biting everybody. She put my ex in the hospital. She bit her foot really bad.
No way.
Yeah, she bit everybody's hands and stuff. So, I was just, I signed up for this. I'm just going to deal with it.
Okay.
So I built a bond with her. It took me about 30 days before she actually warmed up to me, and I never forget the time that she jumped on my lap and sat with me. I was in a little recliner just in my garage. But about 2 months later, I was working, and I got a phone call from my office saying, you have to come in. And they told me that they heard my dog in my garage, and if my dog wasn't removed, that I was going to be evicted. And I said, just got to give me a little bit of time, please. I explained to them, I was involved in rescue. It changed my life. I said, you guys didn't have a problem with me when I was sitting in my garage or in my driveway till 4 a.m. sniffing coke, drinking. Nobody had a problem. It's a dog. I changed my life. This dog really, I just can't give up on this dog. I'm trying to get somebody to help me. Just give me a little bit of time. And they were like, all right, we'll give you a couple of weeks. So I called every single trainer. Nobody wanted to work with her. Every single rescue that says that they rescue dogs, nobody showed up. Even the big names now that everybody swears by these rescues, 8 years ago when I called them, nobody wanted to help me. So ironically, my friend Taryn called me about a job that they needed to have finished. And then she said, hey, we love what you're doing with the dogs. My husband owns a place over on Main Street if you're ever interested in opening up something. And I said, I need something. So I said, when can I meet him? And she said, you can meet him, as early as tomorrow. So the next day I met him, and he was like, it's really an honor and a pleasure. Like, I can't do what you do, but I could help you. He's like, you could build this backyard, and you could have the back room and a bar. And I was like, how much do you want? And he was like, I don't want your money.
Wow.
He's like, I want to help you. I said, okay. I said, I promise you will not regret this. And that's how it all started. I was going to get evicted. I had a Pitbull that nobody wanted to help me with, and I refused to put her into a shelter for those reasons that you discussed earlier.
What happened to her?
She's still with me.
She is?
She is.
What if somebody wants to come in and adopt her, though?
She's unadoptable. She's mine.
She's yours.
Yeah, I have a bunch that, it's their liabilities. And, I'm not the type of person that says that, every dog is for everyone. Like, even my adoption process now, like, if I don't like you, you're not adopting the dog for me.
That's good.
Because if I can't stand you, my dog can't stand you. My dogs have been around me since the day that we take them out of harm's way. They understand what love is now, compassion, family. Like my rescue that we've built from nothing has become something that I have 100% success rate. My dogs all live in peace and serenity. They're welcome. They're cared for before we care about ourselves.
So you're fine with if they don't get adopted. There's enough space now that you're saving them. Your first mission is to save them from the lives they have.
Yes.
The second mission is to get them adopted if they can.
Well,
adopted.
I only rescue abuse and neglect. I don't do owner surrenders. I don't pull shelters. Like if I have to pull a shelter dog, I'll do it. But my main mission and my purpose in life is to get them before they enter the shelter.